Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of the Lebanon Utility Service Board for February 7th, 2024. Let the record show that all board members are present tonight. Is Tim on the line, or is he off? No, he's off. Okay, Tim Hudson is not present with us tonight. We did have a working session prior, and Tim attended that by phone. So, and let the record note that the meeting was properly advertised tonight. We will rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first thing we like to do is offer opportunity for public comment. We will offer again at the end of the meeting, and I don't see anyone here for any public comment at the moment, so we will go ahead and move to the approval of our minutes from the January 17th, 2024 meeting. Everyone had a chance to review those minutes, and if so, I'd entertain a motion.
I make a motion we approve the minutes for January the 17th, 2024.
Second.
Motion made by Bill, seconded by Ann to approve the minutes from January 17th, 2024. Any additional questions or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All righty, we'll jump to Sandra, who has employee handbook changes. Hey, Sandra.
Good evening, everyone. And I'm a little embarrassed. This is my fault, but on January 17th, the last meeting, when the board approved the new PTO policies, one of the provisions in the policy was that time be taken off in 1 hour increments. And when I went back through the whole handbook, I was focusing so much on changing PTO wording everywhere that I forgot to add that 1 hour increment into 3 policies: the floating holiday policy, the sick leave and personal leave policy, and then our comp time agreement. And it really didn't come to our attention until we went out and did the individual meetings, and people were asking, and I was like, well, yeah, it's paid time off. It applies to everything. Well, since they're separate policies, we really should have included that in there. So we are asking you tonight, the only changes to these policies is that you can take it only in 1 hour increments. The policy 312, floating holidays, 325, sick leave and personal leave, and then our comp time off agreement. And I do apologize for that. It was an oversight on our part.
All right, so nothing new, just a addition of some things that were left off prior?
Just a cleanup, yes.
Okay.
Sandra, quick, go ahead.
Bill,
Yes.
this is not anything different than what the Personnel Committee
No.
reviewed, right?
No,
Okay.
Right.
it's not.
Yep, it doesn't change anything at all, what was approved, other than in those 3 policies, I forgot to add, you have to take it in 1 hour increments, which meant people could do 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and with the new policy, we really wanted to clean that up.
Just a quick question. I'm confirming that this doesn't need to be retroactively approved.
No, because if people already did it, we're gonna let them go ahead.
Okay,
and
that's
we'll
what I-
record it that way, so we don't want
Good.
this one retroactive. It'll be effective as of today's meeting.
All right, that's good.
All right, any other questions for Sandra? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I make a motion we approve the changes as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Bill, seconded by Ann, to approve these employee handbook changes. Policy 312 titled Floating Holidays, Policy 325 titled Sick Leave and Personal Leave, and the Compensatory Time Off Agreement with an effective date of February 7th, 2024.
Yes.
Additional discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, thank you, Sandra.
All right, thank you.
Okay, next item is, looks like our legal counsel will have a memorandum of understanding between the Lebanon Land Group LLC and our City of Lebanon Utilities. Looks, Ryan gonna
Yeah, Ryan and I are going to,
tag team here?
yes.
Okay. Hey, Ryan.
Good evening. Would you like for me to kick?
Yeah, set the table.
Yeah,
please.
so At the Hickory Junction area, the Fieldhouse area, we have entered into, or we want to enter into an MOU on their sewer additions and lift station additions to the infrastructure. Upon inspection by Lebanon Utilities, there were some issues that we observed, all correctable, but we needed those to be dealt with before we were comfortable taking on that infrastructure. However, if we didn't come to some sort of an agreement or couldn't get it figured out, that would delay the grand opening of the field house. And we didn't want to do that either. So after working with the city and with the developers, we've come up with a solution that will allow them to connect to our system, which will not cause us any future issues. And they will be allowed to send flow to us on the wastewater side, but we will not be taking over any of the infrastructure until all of the construction standards are met, all the inspection checklist are taken care of. So it's almost like a large, to make it easy, a large private lateral. So if they have any issues on their side because of the inspections haven't, their checklist hasn't been taken care of, or there's some needs over there, they will be responsible for that. We will not be taking that over until all inspections, all checklists, all punch lists have been dealt with. But this is a good compromise because we still aren't liable for any of the equipment or the infrastructure, but it will also allow for the field house to be opened at the advertised date, and I think they have an event that weekend coming up, they'll be allowed to do that. So, Jeff, does that kind of cover where we are as far as?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that this is an accommodation to correct some construction deficiencies and some plan deficiencies that we were charged with trying to come up with. This is sort of a one-off, not typical arrangement. And we have, I think, successfully passed risk and cost off to the developer on this issue. And at the end of the day, I believe we will have a better constructed, we'll have a system that we feel better about. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And our crew, along with inspectors from BF&S, have been continuing to do all the inspections. So the liability will remain with the developer until they meet all the standards that we would ask any other developer to meet. So that liability stays with them until they hit the parameters that they're supposed to hit, and then we will assume responsibility for the lift station and the infrastructure in that area on the sewer side.
And just as another point, this has been a pretty quickly developing process. All of the exhibits, plans, and specifications have been submitted to Butler Fairman, who signed off on those. So, anything else from your?
No, and like you said, it's a one-off scenario. It's a pretty unique situation, but I am comfortable with this moving forward as far as where the liability falls and the risk for the utilities is at a bare minimum, if at all.
Ryan, any time estimate on the checking of the remaining boxes?
They're actually pretty close. It's one of those where I can anticipate there's a chance that it could even be done before the grand opening, but timing-wise, we weren't sure, so we wanted to be able to for that schedule to be maintained. But the video that they've sent us when they do the camera work in the sewer on the punch list that we conducted an initial inspection, all that stuff had been taken care of. So it's just some additional construction on the wet well of the lift station, and some items on that end, but they are actively working, and their goal, I believe, is to try to get everything done as soon as possible. I just think that there may be a gap in that schedule that would, and typical situation would not allow for the grand opening of the field house. And there's quite a bit that goes along with the planning of those events there, months, sometimes years in advance for events this large. And so we didn't, if we were able to work a way out for everybody to continue forward, we wanted to be able to do that, but not put the integrity of our infrastructure in jeopardy.
Okay.
Yeah, I have just kind of and it's probably not a fair question, so I apologize for that, but what I'm hearing is that we're allowing flow into our system before all of the inspections have been done, and you're throwing out words like risk and liability, and I understand the need to shift that to the developer if they're wanting to start before all the boxes are checked. I'm all on board. What kind of risks are we talking about? Are we talking about environmental risks? Are we talking human health and safety? What are and that's the not fair part. I know you can't foresee everything that could possibly happen, but I'm just kind of wondering what you mean when you're talking about those kinds of things.
No, that's actually a very fair question, and the concern is not a health and safety issue. When I say risk, a perfect example on the plans, the original plans showed one phase with 2 wet wells, which would be basically a full build out for that entire area, similar to our north side lift station where it's kind of a mirrored system. And the second wet well would be for, as they expand that field house area, we would expand that lift station. Well, they decided internally to break that up into 2 phases. So they put the one wet well in, didn't put the other one in. We want to see that all completed. However, that infrastructure can handle the field house and some other smaller stuff, but if they were to build 4 or 5 more restaurants, hotels, when Bel Canto comes online, the rest of that wet well and the rest of that lift station will need to be complete. So that's why we didn't want to take that over. And if it were a health and safety issue, it would have been stopped. There would not be any consideration from Lebanon Utilities to take on any of that responsibility. So when I say risk, it's no more risk than when we allow a business to hook in to our system, and they're working out stuff on the private side. But if it were risk where we would take it over and then they couldn't figure out how to get this wet well in, and then they had to bring in another contractor or whatever, that would be risk we would be taking financially. And so that's more what I'm talking about, the equipment or the unknown of constructing this wet well financially could start to add up, that we weren't willing to accept that responsibility until it's completed. They've spent the money on all the construction and infrastructure upgrades, past inspections, and then we would take it over.
Okay, that's helpful, thank you.
Brian, can I just add to that? Just maybe a way to summarize that would be, we're risking sanitary sewer overflows because it's not big enough for the load that would come to it if they build it out. And also that they might have sold it to somebody else and we might be on the hook for fixing the lift station if we don't have some sort of agreement where they say they're gonna do it, because we don't want to accept it before it's done.
Correct.
Is that about right? Okay.
Yep.
But as constructed, we're not risking a sanitary sewer overflow because you don't have the rest of the development for that second.
Right, which is why we are, before we will take over operation, we want the full build-out of the original plans. And the developer said that was the plan, but they internally broke it up into phases, which we said that's not how it works. If we approve a set of plans, that is the phase, unless it's noted in the plans. So they've come back with updated plans. It's went through plan review, and they've satisfied the needs on that. It's just, we didn't want to take something over that, in our eyes, wasn't fully completed.
So, in other words, BF&S is comfortable with this?
Yes.
Okay.
As far as where we are in the process and the MOU and accepting the flow, all this has went through BF&S's review along with legal review, and they've
Very
signed
good.
off on it also.
Right.
Does the field house in Bel Canto have one new lift station associated with it?
Yes, that's the Hickory Junction lift station. That's the one in question.
Okay. Has that been completed?
It's partially completed to where it is operational for the field house, but it's not fully built out per the original plans, and that's what we're requiring with this MOU. They have to finish building it out per the original plans and make sure all punch list items, inspection items are taken care of. But it is able to accept the flow from the field house. It's built out enough for that, and it's connected in a sanitary and a safe health aspect, so we're able to accept that flow. We just don't want to accept a partially built lift station with the hopes that it gets finished in the future. With this MOU ensures that before we accept it, it will be completed.
I'm not sure I understand wet wells. I thought a wet well was where you collected wastewater, and then that could not be connected otherwise to the system, and that you vacuumed it out. Am I misunderstanding wet wells?
Yeah, well, so the wet well, it does, that's where the pumps are in, and it does collect water. And then when the water gets to a certain level, it gets pumped out. That's what a lift station does.
Oh, it does? Okay.
As gravity takes the waste to a certain level, it gets, because you can't just keep going all the way down, it gets to a certain level, goes to that wet well, the lift station, that's what it's called, lift station, lifts the water back up and then allows gravity to start the process all back over again.
Thank you. So I have a question for council.
Yes, sir.
The MOU makes reference to a main extension agreement.
Yes.
Will that agreement be substantially different than this MOU?
Yeah, so council and I sort of addressed that. It is a little bit of a catch-all. That will probably memorialize that this has been completed, and it will be an extension of this agreement. My thought was could almost just be the dedication, kind of bill of sale that we would accept, but we wanted to have an in-between process saying that it has met all the inspections, everything has been paid for, there are no liens, we're good to go.
Will this main extension agreement be completed before the dedication date?
It will be, yes,
Will?
yes.
And will that come to us for subsequent approval?
I would think yes, to the extent it is even needed, just depending on how completions work out here, I would imagine so.
Thank you.
Right, anything else for Ryan on this MOU? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve the memorandum of understanding between Lebanon Land Group LLC and the City of Lebanon Utilities, authorizing General Manager Ed Baskell to sign on behalf of the Utility Service Board.
Second.
Motion made by Ann, seconded by Bill to approve the MOU between Lebanon Land Group and Lebanon Utilities with General Manager Ed Baskell signing on behalf of the utilities. Any additional discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you, Jeff and Ryan. Looks like Ryan is going to stay put for the Fairgrounds Lift Station prelim study.
Yeah, I got a whole list of this. What happens when I'm under the weather for the previous board meeting? I gotta get caught up with my approval quota here. The first item on my list is the approval to start the preliminary study for the 4-H Fairgrounds Lift Station replacement. This is one of our highest concerns on our hazard rankings. This is an old, what's commonly referred to as a can-style lift station. When I was placed in this role, we had two at the time. One was the Morningside lift station and the Fairgrounds lift station. Morningside, we were able to delete that with the Cedar Ridge project, and was a huge success. The reason why these lift stations are a concern, there's a couple reasons. One, it was installed in the 1970s, so obviously technology from the 70s compared to technology from today have advanced quite a bit. But the bigger concern is all of the components and all the pumps and all the control panels are actually below ground in a it's called a canister, to where if we want to work on anything, it is a confined space. So we have to go through a confined space entry protocol, and it is a dangerous situation, which is why it's been classified as a confined space. And then on top of that, the parts are becoming harder and harder to come by, to where some parts are stuff that we have to get off of eBay because they just don't manufacture this equipment anymore. So what we'd like to do is replace this, and then we're going to try to tie it into the proposed north side, or I'm so sorry, the regional lift station near the potential Waterford development.
I'm sorry, which one?
To the Waterford development, the regional lift station in that area. And originally, that was going to kind of go hand in hand. When the timeline came out and Waterford had been delayed, we're to a point now with the issues in that lift station that we can't wait for that development anymore. Now, eventually, if and when that lift station, the regional lift station in that area gets developed, the flow from this lift station will go to that, which is actually a huge benefit to have this flow, because when you start out a lift station, if you have a real low flow, it's very inefficient, and it's hard on your pumps and everything else. So to be able to provide this flow and to get it to a regional lift station is going to be the ultimate goal. But unfortunately, timing-wise, is not working out to where we can any longer we can wait on this situation. So this approval would be from BF&S, and it's for a total of $16,700. It will help with the red flag study, and if you're not familiar with the red flag study, it will submit locates, 811 design ticket, pipeline review, area of research to determine utilities in the area that might be in conflict with the project, sending out requests for preliminary contact to all utilities, public and private, establish points of contact, and kind of a litany of other stuff. And it's either way, if we get this, whenever we have to replace this lift station, this will all need to be done. So this is just part of the process, but what this will allow, we are actively trying to figure out what type of lift station we want. This lift station's in front of Freedom Church. You can see like just a green, looks like an extended manhole about 3 feet above the ground. And if you compare that to a lift station, let's say the Chadwick lift station is a lift station that you can see pretty well, where we have the control panels up above the ground, and you have kind of a roof and to stay out of the elements and stuff like that. All that stuff is now down in the ground. We want to raise that up and make that a situation to where it's safe. We can operate everything from above ground like all of our other lift stations. So this is all part of that process. So this will include a preliminary study, the red flag study, and then a preliminary right-of-way evaluation. And like I said, even if this project were to, let's say, not be a priority and move down the road, all of this information can be applied at any point in time during the replacement of this lift station. So it doesn't have, you don't have to green light the lift station in order to green light this and just let it help us gather this information.
Hey, Brian, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Didn't we already talk about this? About a preliminary study for that?
I thought that maybe would that be the business park lift station?
No, it was this one. We didn't have any, you didn't talk about,
Budget, maybe.
did we?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is a budgeted item, and so that preliminary study may have come up there. But this is the first request I've had for the preliminary study for this.
All right.
Hey, Ron, I have a couple questions.
Yes.
First of all, I want to make sure I understand past plans. At one time, it was my understanding that this Southeast Regional Lift Station would be built and paid for by the Waterford Residential TIF, and that the Enterprise lift station would be abandoned at a very reduced cost.
The fairgrounds lift station.
The fairgrounds.
Yes.
fairgrounds lift station would be
Yes.
abandoned at very little cost. Am I remembering that initial plan correctly?
Yeah, that is correct. I believe that was maybe 3 years ago. I mean, time.
Okay, let me follow up with this then. So today, that Waterford development is more or less stalled as far as we can tell. And so we're not at all certain when the residential lift station is going to be built, correct?
If at all.
If at all.
Yes, sir.
So we want to take care of this hazardous lift station. And you mentioned that once it is completed, that it will be, that if the regional lift station is constructed, that this lift station would be connected to that lift station.
Correct.
And that there is an engineering benefit to that.
Correct. And that is for the flow. In order to, you need flow in order for the pumps to operate and be sized correctly. Instead of, if you just were waiting for a house here, a house there, your pumps would never be efficient for years. Whereas if we can, and in the sizing of the regional lift station, the flow from this lift station has been calculated in that engineering report. So it wouldn't be an added burden onto the regional lift station. It has been calculated in order to size the pumps correctly at a large enough size to where the flow will make them actually more efficient and save on the, on pumps, the start and stop is the hardest thing on a pump. If once it's in operation, that's where it's happiest or where it's completely shut off. The starting and stopping is what is your wear and tear and shortens the life of your pump. This will help avoid that.
Let me ask you this, if Waterford got to the point where it was actively building 300 houses, are we thinking of sizing this replacement lift station to a point where those 300 houses could be served?
No, it would be, no, but because that basin is full, so we can't add any flow to the basin that is, that the fairgrounds lift station currently is using. So all we can do is take flow away from that basin. So we would never add flow to that basin because then you are risking sanitary sewer overflows. So the Waterford development, 300 houses, would be contingent on them having a lift station in place to handle that. The regional lift station would not have to be completely built out 100%, but it would have to be built out enough to where, similar to the north side lift station, similar to what we're talking about in Hickory Junction, you have a wet well and you have a set of pumps sized accordingly to that flow, then you can always expand it, and that's would be the process. As you get more flow, as you get more homes, it's expanded.
What I'm sort of straining at here is whether or not this lift station could be properly tied to as part of a good wastewater development for Waterford. And if so, if this lift station might be paid for with a Waterford residential TIF. Do you have an opinion?
I don't know how that works with the timing of plan approval and everything for Waterford. You know, if Waterford were delayed 8 months, a year, 2 years, I have no comfort level in this wet well continuing to be in operation for that amount of time. It is our highest priority as far as any lift station upgrades. So yeah, I can't speak on that. I don't know enough about if you can pre-assign TIF dollars to a TIF. I don't know how that would work.
Yeah, well, you don't, there's no, until there's X number of houses development, there's nowhere near enough residential TIF revenue, but if it's connected to the regional lift station that is paid for by the residential TIF, perhaps it could be negotiated retrospectively to repay our costs. So that's in my head, and that's a thought for a future date, but I'm going to keep that thought alive for a while.
I definitely think the infrastructure from the lift station from the current Fairgrounds lift station to the new lift station, I think that would 100% be included in the TIF, in my opinion. That would be asked for, the connection. But currently, I do like the idea, and I will definitely, try to push a retroactive, some sort of retroactive compensation for this as the delay that we experienced, and the plans, how they kind of fell through, and we had to move with a different plan.
Thank you.
But just so I'm clear, there is current flow to this lift station, and there are some aging and design problems with it right now.
Yeah, so there's no issues with the amount of flow coming in and going out. The issues are with the age of the lift station itself, the equipment itself, and the safety of the crew working on it. We will not add any flow, but the flow that comes into there and goes out is the right amount of flow. It's fed by the 4-H Fairgrounds, and then the senior living community, kind of as you're going out on the access road, and then the Reynolds Farm equipment. That's all the flow that's hooked to that, and that's all we would not allow anymore, but it's been sized according to those flows to handle all that safely.
So there's no Waterford flow at all?
It wouldn't be considered to that basin. Actually, on the first phase of the regional lift station, we actually construct a sewer line that goes past that sewer basin, since that basin is at capacity, to one that has capacity, so we don't take a chance of having any sanitary sewer overflows in that area by something that we've designed.
All right, anything else on this item for Ryan? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we approve the 4-H Fairground Lift Station preliminary study.
Second.
Motion made by Bill, seconded by Ann to approve, to proceed with the 4-H Fairground Lift Station Replacement Preliminary Study with BF&S for $16,700. Additional discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Ryan's still playing third, and he is going to cover the permission to advertise RFP for the lift station control panels.
And this actually this may be since it's close to Groundhog's Day, a repeat. Last year, or actually 2 years ago, we started a lift station control panel upgrade program. And what we were doing at that time was we'd get specs for a lift station control panel upgrade. The goal is to have all of them be the same. We'd like to see them same parts, same processes, so we have less inventory, and it's much easier for training and much easier for repair work. I was actually bringing them to the board one at a time, and Mr. Hudson had suggested at that time putting together some sort of a program to where we could do it all as we see fit, kind of an overall board approval for a certain amount. So I'm not coming back every single time to get approvals for every single lift station control panel. So we sent out a proposal last year, late in the year, and when that came in, it was myself and Cameron Kearney, who's the supervisor in the collections department, had some questions about how those proposals were received, and some of the proposals, it wasn't real clear. So instead of rushing into something, we decided just to hold off and start that process over so we could educate ourselves. I feel like we're in a better place now. We actually have 8 control panels that we want to replace, but 2 of those, Prairie Heights Lift Station, which is part of the business park upgrades. And then the north side lift station, which is part of the off-site sanitary for the Eli Lilly project, those are actually going to get upgraded with that project. So we don't have to worry about those. So what we have is we have 6 more panels that we would like to see upgraded. And what this proposal will do is each panel is its own scope. So everything we need for that panel will be included in that, and there'll be a price for each one. So, if we budgeted, if these come in at 120% over budget for all 6, Cameron and his crew have prioritized the one that needs to be done the most to the one that, if it was a budget issue, could wait, no problem. And so we would just, we would stair-step our way down from the highest priority to the least priority. And if for some reason we can't get them all done this year, we would knock out the biggest concerns and then just add the cost of the remaining panels to next year's budget. So this advertisement we're able to reach out to known installers with the current specs from our city standards and what we want to see, and then we can get proposals on that and kind of go from there as we start making decisions. And there's most of this work is done, and so any cost for BF&S's help on this would just be their normal on-call stuff. It's not a very large number because a lot of this, it's just basically advertising in the Indianapolis Star and the local paper, and then sending it out to any developers that could help us out to get a proposal from them.
Ryan, did I hear you correctly that we had an RFP that was unsuccessful?
It wasn't unsuccessful. It was just not, it was not something I was familiar with as far as moving forward, that I was comfortable spending the money on. So we're going to tweak the way.
So we actually didn't go through the RFP?
We just advertised for it and we received the proposals, but we didn't, but that's as far as it went. We never came back to the board to get any budget items approved. And that's how this will also work. Just so once we get the proposals, then we will have a recommendation, but it will still come to the board for the recommendation for the panels. It's not something to where I'll just start picking and choosing what we want to do.
So you feel like your RFP proposal language and specifications are better established this time?
Yeah, thanks to Cameron and his crew.
Okay.
I kind of tasked them with going through everything and making sure that it was what they wanted, because I didn't want to rush into something and spend the money on something that 8 months from now we were going to want replaced because it wasn't exactly what we wanted.
Question for legal counsel, was the previous RFP process properly terminated?
Yeah, it's simply, it doesn't need to come back to the board. It just, if it doesn't meet the engineering specs or Ryan's approval, then it fails. It doesn't need to come back and be turned down.
Thank you.
And BF&S was in agreement that not to rush into it, and we can clean this up and make sure that it's exactly what we want if we're going to spend the money on that, and not have any guesswork in it, or take as much guesswork out as possible.
Thank you.
All right, anything else here for Ryan? We need to entertain a motion here on the RFP.
Make a motion to approve the proceeding and advertising request for proposal for the lift station control panel updates.
Second.
Motion made by Bill, seconded by Ann, to approve proceeding with advertising a RFP for lift station control panel upgrades. Anything additional for Ryan on this item? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Ryan, moving right along to the water distribution dump truck.
Yes, this is a request to approve the purchase of a new chassis and the addition of a dump bed on that to replace our 2004, that is an accurate number, 2004 dump truck. Now, this is a smaller dump truck that you'll see at a lot of sites, and it's not our big, massive dump truck. This dump truck is used in a lot of our vac work, and then it's used to pull a lot of equipment we have, so you don't have to get the full-size dump truck out. And it's also used in some residential areas where it's a little bit tighter footprint, and this truck is a little bit more favorable to use in that. We received 4 quotes from 3 vendors, and my suggestion is, it is a 2023 Chevy Silverado chassis. However, it is brand new. It's not a used one. And the reason is, one of the reasons for my suggestions is the fact that it is, they put it on hold and to wait for tonight's outcome, but it's in stock, which with a lot of chassis is a huge hurdle to overcome. And then all the trucks were quoted with the dump bed from Clark Equipment, so that is an apples to apples comparison for your overall price. So whatever the truck chassis cost was, we added the dump bed to come up with an overall price. We did budget $70,000 for this, and it is about $4,000, $4,100 over budget. So we do have a trailer that we were going to replace that can easily, I talked to the crew, can easily wait until next year for this trailer to be replaced for $7,000 in order to kind of supplement the truck budget in this scenario.
Brian, are you gonna trade in the 2004 dump truck?
That'd be something I have to talk to Sandra about that process. I don't think we want to keep it, but we didn't get any prices on a trade-in yet, so this would just be buying it outright. However, if we are able to trade it in, if there's something they would want, then we would absolutely take advantage of that to lower the cost of this.
Otherwise, you're gonna try to declare it surplus and then go that way, okay?
Yes, that would be, that's exactly what we would do, yes, sir.
Is the dump bed capacity for the new truck more than for the old truck? Or
It's the same specs as
Same?
the old truck,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, so potentially this would come in under if we get anything for the old item. If not, you still have pushed off something to keep this in budget.
Yeah, yes, yeah, and like I said, we budgeted 70,000, and the total cost is 74,129.50. Pretty close on that, but, like I said, and
It's in stock, though.
Do what?
It's in stock.
That's the biggest thing, is that it's, it's a couple thousand less than the one we'd have to order, and then it's a matter of actually getting it, so.
I want to make sure that you do declare it surplus. I don't want you to keep it and then throw more money into it.
Absolutely, and,
All right.
and that's the scenario that we're starting to get in, is that it was nickel and diming us.
Okay.
And so, no, it would be, once this one is on site, then that one would not be in the field anymore. It would be one of two things. If we're able to trade it in, we will deduct that. If we're not, we'll declare it surplus and then go through the process of
Okay,
removing that
very
from
good.
the service industry, or the service trucks.
So Ryan and Mike, if you're planning on trading that in as part of this process, I think you could need you're wanting to do that in one transaction and not need to come back to the board to do that, correct?
If it is an option, I'll be honest, I have not spoke to the dealer, if that is something that they were interested in. Previously, we've wanted to trade stuff in, and it didn't have a value to them, to be honest. So if it's an option, I would like to save everybody's time and be able to exercise that option.
Well, what we've done before is that we've went down this process before to buy something, and then you guys end up keeping it and dumping more money into it, and you still have 2 dump trucks, but one of them's old, and you're still dumping money into it. So I don't want us to end up in that scenario.
No, it would be one of the two would happen. It would be trade in and be given to, or traded into the dealership, or declared surplus, but it will be out of commission as far as what we use on a day-to-day basis. It will not go back in the field.
Procedure?
Yeah, so I think what we need to do is if it's going to be traded in, then, and I'm guessing it's probably under Ed's signing limit of 15,000 would be the value. I would declare it as surplus and make it part of trade-in package. If that doesn't happen, let Ryan bring it back and declare it surplus separately.
The hair quote does not reference trade-in.
No, the quotes do not have a trade-in.
Well, a couple of them did, but this one doesn't.
And so I would have to check with the crew and see if that's something that they looked into. And
If I read the quote correctly, trade-in wasn't addressed,
You got a
so.
discount of $6,100 on it.
Yeah, there's a discount, but it didn't mention trade-in, right?
trade-in is marked 0 on their quote.
Oh, what'd you say?
Trade-in is marked 0 on their quote, so there was
Okay.
no trade-in value.
I guess we should go the surplus route, right?
Well, you could declare it as surplus for the purposes of this transaction if he is able to get some reasonable value, subject to Ed's approval, as part of a trade-in. And otherwise, if that doesn't happen, you could either declare it surplus. My suggestion would be to bring that back.
Absolutely.
Rather than simply declaring it surplus. So at the next meeting, you're either going to report that it was part of the trade-in and that authorization was sufficient, or, hey, here's the value, I want to declare this surplus and sell it in this fashion. Two separate paths.
Yep.
The other suggested item, I think Sandra's suggestion is that so that the budget is cleaned up, if you are in fact moving pricing around or dollars around from one line of the budget to the other, that you recognize that in a motion separately, that you amend the budget to reflect this borrowing from one line to another so that it's cleaned up at the end of the year. Sandra, did I say that correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
It makes it easier because otherwise it looks like we're over on one line and short on another line. And we don't always remember 10 months from now. So when we do this, we like to have the board approve. Just, in this instance, it would be eliminating line 18 on the budget and adding that $7,000 to line 13.
Well, why don't we just keep it the way it is and just approve the overage of, what, $4,100? And then you can address the trailer at a later date.
That's okay too, just the way this was written, he was moving the money.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good with that. Either way, I was just trying to, whatever works best.
It's getting complicated here.
Yeah, so, I mean, whatever works best for you or for the board.
Can we approve the truck as is at 74,129.50 and then deal with the
Trailer.
trade or the surplus
Trailer at yes.
totally separately? Is
That's
that
what I
motion?
think.
Motion-wise?
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Let's do
Is
that.
is everybody fine with that? I mean,
Yes.
I think it's safe to say, probably going to purchase this even if we get 0 for the trade
Right.
and declare it surplus. So it may be cleaner, but I'm not the numbers, I'm not Sandra, so.
Can we do that, Sandra?
No, yeah, you can definitely do that. What I was addressing was on here, because it was over budget, Ryan stated that they were going to take money from the trailer and move it to this line item. So I just wanted that to be a separate motion if that's what we're going to do. If we're just going to let it go over, then leave it alone.
Let's just let it go over and leave it alone for now.
Okay.
Is that all right?
I would prefer to stay within a budget, and I liked that offer to postpone the trailer.
It's, I
How
have
much is the
no,
trailer? What's the trailer budget amount?
the budget amount was $7,000.
Okay. I mean, if you want to push the trailer off a year and that's okay with you, let's have a motion to push the trailer off a year. We can approve this separately, and then we'll do a third motion for declaring surplus. That way it makes everybody happy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to get as many motions as possible, so
fine?
this may break a
Yeah.
record.
So the first motion would be to authorize Ryan to move forward with the purchase of the vehicle.
Okay, do we have a motion there?
I make a motion, we approve the vehicle, the 2023 Chevrolet Silverado chassis and dump for $74,129.50.
The second recommended motion would be to.
A second?
Oh,
You
I'm
have
so
a
sorry.
second? Okay, we got a motion and a second, Bill and Aaron, and any other discussion? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we knocked that one out.
All right, that's out.
Apologies. The second recommended motion would be to authorize or declare the current truck as surplus and allow Ryan to, and part of that would be that it is contingent upon it being part of the trade-in with the just approved purchase vehicle.
So move.
Second.
All right, so the second motion is declaring the 2004 dump truck as surplus and allowing Ryan to obtain anything he can for that via trade or,
Declared surplus.
yeah, or surplus. Right, so do we have a motion there?
So move.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we got the motion by Bill and second by Aaron to declare the 2004 dump truck as surplus with Ryan taking it for trade or declared a surplus. Any additional discussion there?
Nope.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and then the third motion,
Would be to eliminate line item 18 from the water budget, taking that $7,000 rough amount and fully transferring it to line item 13 of the water budget.
So move.
Second.
all right, we've got a motion by Aaron, seconded by Bill to move line 18 in the budget to line 13, thus adjusting and allowing the purchase of the 2023 Silverado to be within budget.
And that's the 2024 capital projects budget for water.
Okay, so we had a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
Yeah, did we actually say okay to that motion?
We had, who was the first? Was Bill?
It was Bill.
Bill said so moved and you seconded. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so, yeah, I didn't have the specs on it, but.
It's Eric and Bill.
Aaron and Bill. Okay. Just flop those. All right, anything else? I think we're good there. All right, Ryan, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to next item, which is the approval of claims, payrolls, transfers dated February 7th, 2024. Everyone had a chance to review those items, and if so, need discussion? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the claims payroll transfers dated February the 7th, 2024, in the amount of $1,149,209.25 for claims and payroll and $7,106,005.78 for transfers.
Second.
Motion made by Bill, seconded by Ann to approve the claims, payrolls, and transfers dated February 7th, 2024. Any additional discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, next item is any other business from or for the board. Anyone from the board have any other business tonight? Ed, anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the board because this board has really rolled up its sleeves, and we just had a 2-hour-long working session before this, talking about different utility issues, which we frequently do have these long working sessions. And it's a lot of work and effort being on this board for part-time people with day jobs and things like that. And also shout out to my staff for preparing the presentations and Jacob as legal counsel, and Scott from Baker Tilly, and John Leitner from Butler Fairman for all the work they've done to get us to this point, because it's unprecedented workload for our staff with all the development we're having. A lot of our work for our staff is generated by change, and there's been a lot of change. So I just want to say thank you to everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Ed. All right, anything else for the board? Any public comment? Don't see anyone here. Anything you're aware of, Ed?
No, sir.
All right, looks like our next meeting is February 21st, 5 PM. And if there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Ann, seconded by Bill. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone.